First of all, welcome to answer writing class. Am I audible to you all? Can anyone confirm that whether I am audible to you all? Okay, so as I am audible to you all, let's start the class. So welcome to this answer writing class. The main intention behind this answer writing class is to showcase what are the areas from where questions are asked. That's the number one point. Now the second important point is most of the preparation of mains is based on the PYQs, because if we understand how questions are made, so accordingly we can prepare our mains. So in this answer writing class, initially I'll try to solve all the PYQs of 2023, then I'll move on to 2022, and after that I will try to take chapter wise questions. Now as we know that in any mains paper, the nature of questions are divided into three parts. The first type of question will be static question. The second type of question will be analytical question. And the third type of question will be out of the box questions. So static question will be, I would say, 7 to 8. Analytical question would be next 8 to 9. And out of the box questions will be 2 to 3, depending upon the nature of the paper. Now, this question can be prepared in advance. I mean, this can be already prepared from home. Okay, now in the second type, that is analytical type. Analytical type, you need a bit of practice. Practice of what? The main important question is practice of forming an answer in 7 minutes. Means you will be given a set of questions and you have to form that answer in 7 minutes for 10 markers and 10 minutes for 15 markers. So in analytical question, what is required is skill of answer writing. Okay, and the third type, that is the out of the box question, here mostly it is luck based. If you have covered a lot of topics, then you are well placed. But in these areas, most of the student will not be able to answer those questions. So while preparing for mains, you need to primarily focus on these two parts. Static question which have been asked previously and the possibility of being asked again. And the second is analytical question where you need a lot of answer writing practice. I hope I am clear with what are the nature of questions which can be asked in this question in the exam hall. Okay, so let's start. So what I'll do is that I'll take individual questions and I'll showcase what is the nature of the question, how should we approach the question, and what should be the content written in such questions. Okay, so if anyone doesn't have the required idea of what to write and what not to write, don't panic. It's a very starting exercise, so everybody might not be well placed to write every answers, but if you are patient, then after a period of time you'll certainly develop this skill. Okay, now let's start with GS1. Now as we know, the GS1 topic mostly comprise of history, society, geography, and art and culture. Now if you look at the syllabus, because to prepare means the first and important thing is syllabus, and the second and important thing is previous year question. Without these two things, mains preparation is not possible. Now if you have a close look at the syllabus of GS1, you will see that there will be certain topics where it will be written with reference to Assam. So every paper, because we know that only Assam related infos are asked in GS5. That is a very wrong notion for this exam, because with reference to Assam, type of question can be asked in any paper, be it GS1, GS2, GS3, GS4 or GS5. So every time you read Indian society, you also need to study with reference to Assam. When you read position of women in India, you also need to study about position of women in Assam. Whenever you study about architecture of India, you also need to study about architecture of Assam, because they will have a certain tendency to mix such questions. Okay, now next. So let's take the first question. This has been asked in CC 2023. So the first question is, how do the principles of Buddhism inspire ecological mindfulness in addressing the loss of biodiversity? See, the first technique of writing an answer is to highlight the keyword. Because to write a good answer, you need to first understand the question. Now, how to understand the question? By marking the keywords given in the question. See, first keyword is principle of Buddhism. The second keyword is ecological mindfulness. And the third keyword is loss of biodiversity. Now, I have said there are mostly three types of question asked. One is static questions, one is analytical question, and third is out of the box question. So if I had to put this question in either of these three categories, then we can say it is under the second category, that is analytical question. Now, how to deal with the analytical question? Now let's say here the keywords are principle of Buddhism and loss of biodiversity. So in my mind, I will say, what are the keywords I know under principle of Buddhism? That's the first. And the second, what are the keywords I know under loss of biodiversity? Now, what is Buddhism? If someone is to tell what is Buddhism, then we can say Buddhism was nothing but a social reform movement, isn't it? Now, why social reform movement? Its main focus was to reform the society, because there were many issues there were popping up in the society, and to resolve and address those issues, the principles of Buddhism were given. What are the principles of Buddhism? Right view, right intentions, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right concentration, right mindfulness. So when you write this answer, these keywords needs to be there in your answer. Are you getting my point? Okay. Next, the next important keyword is loss of biodiversity. Now, in loss of biodiversity, we have what? Habitat loss, overexploitation, invasive species, climate change, and pollution. Isn't it? These are the problems associated with biodiversity. Isn't it? Now what you will do is you have the keywords. Now you have to interrelate those keywords and form an answer. This is the most safest way to deal with the analytical question. Now, as we know that any good structure of an answer comprises of three things. One is the intro, one is the conclusion, and one is the body. Now, question is how to form an intro. Question is how to form an intro. Now, this will depend upon the nature of the question. If it is an analytical question and it doesn't have any definition, for example, if there was a keyword such as accountability, integrity, then we can write a definition. But since in this question there is no such possibility of writing, so we'll simply introduce with a data. So there becomes that when you have a handful of data while preparing mains, then it becomes to write a very good introduction. So here I have given the Bagjan blowout which happened in Assam and the impact of Bagjan on biodiversity. We can see that 55% of the biodiversity was impacted by the Bagjan blowout. So here it is a very good trick that in introduction, if you give any Assam related data, then it separate your answer from other answer. So this becomes a very good strategy. Now, let's see how we have clubbed the principle of Buddhism with the loss of biodiversity. The first we'll see right effort. See, right effort. Now, how did I utilize right effort with the loss of biodiversity? As we know that in addressing biodiversity, we need a lot of conservation measures. Conservation measures such as formation of national park, wildlife sanctuary, allocation of government funds, collaborating with NGOs. These are nothing but a type of efforts. And if the effort is right, then this will ultimately address the loss of biodiversity. So this is how you get point number one. Then the second is right livelihood. Now, right livelihood. As we know that what is the main purpose of illegal wildlife trade? Mostly to earn money. And most people earn money for what? Livelihood purpose. So, if they get a right livelihood, so they will not get indulged in smuggling, illegal wildlife trade. So, what will happen? Ultimately, the loss of biodiversity will get addressed, isn't it? Now, next, right mindfulness. Now, the civilian should be very mindful about the damage caused by various waste products. For example, whenever we go to the market, what do? We ask for polythene, isn't it? But if we are mindful that what are the impact plastic can do, then we won't ask for polythenes. So, in a way, what we can show is that if people are mindful, then there will be no plastic pollution, isn't it? Then right intentions. Now, some people like to show off that I am wearing a leather jacket, or leather shoes, leather belt. But ultimately, where does leather come from? Leather come from killing of biodiversity. So if our intention is right, then we would reduce the demand of such products. And if such products are less in demand, so ultimately what will happen? Killing of biodiversity will go down. And once killing of biodiversity goes down, the loss of biodiversity will also addressed. And the last is what? Right action, isn't it? Right action. So when we have right action, we will throw garbage in only the desired garbage area. We won't litter here and there, because often we see that whenever we eat a chocolate, we throw it on the roadside. If we drink a cup of tea, we throw it on the roadside. That is not the right action. But if we are aware of what is the right action is, then we won't destroy the environment, isn't it? Now, these are the main points. Since it's a 10 marker, all this content will almost fill up your 2 pages, because page filling is also important in mains, isn't it? Now, ultimately it boils down to the last part, that is the conclusion. Now, conclusion in such analytical question, either you can give conclusion as a way forward, and if you are running short of time, just readdress the or rephrase the question that is given. I mean, there is penalty for not writing a question, but there is no penalty for writing a what's matlab average conclusion. So you can say that in a way Buddhism can help in the ecological mindful among the citizen to prevent the biodiversity and ensure sustainability. If you give a simple introduction conclusion, even that is enough for your answer. And if you write such an answer, you are bound to get at least 6 out of 10. But notice one thing, in every point I have tried to given some sort of example. See, in the first point I have given Manas National Park, Aranyak NGO, Kaziranga. Then in the third point, plastic pollution. Then in the fourth point I have given leather bags. So when you write a good answer, you need to substantiate it with examples, else it won't be enriching. I hope you understood how to approach this question. Forget about approaching other questions. Did you get what I was trying to say? How to approach such type of questions? Now, the next question. Is factor endowment always a necessity for development of industry? Discuss with reference of Assam. As I have mentioned, that they have a tendency to introduce such keywords with every question. Okay. Now, if you look closely at the syllabus, you will see that in the syllabus you will find factors responsible for the location of primary, secondary and tertiary industries in various parts of the world, including India. But here you have to include including Assam. Okay. Now let's see this question. Now again, if I ask you in which category will you put this question, then what will you say? Is it the first category, second category or third category? Now see, most of the people who have studied properly GS1 will take that, okay, I have prepared this question in advance, so I'll put it in the first category. So definitely this is a very static question. Previously such questions has been asked in either in UPSC also and APSC also. So it is definitely not an analytical question. You can easily approach it. Okay. Now, let's understand the framework of the answer. What? Introduction, then we'll have body, and then we'll have conclusion. Now, question is, they're asking your opinion. Is factor endowment always a necessity? So you have to divide your body into two parts. Why factor endowment is a necessity and why factor endowment is not a necessity, by providing examples. Sorry. Okay, by providing examples. So let's understand what factor endowment is. See, factor endowment is basically a term in economics. Now, as we know, to start an industry, we know that three important things are very, very important. That is land, labor, and capital. Okay. In land, we also sometimes need raw materials, then we need labor, and then we need capital. Only when these three things are in place, then only we can form an industry. Okay. Because without these three things, formation of industry is almost impossible. Now, next, let's see the first part. We have seen the introduction part. So in introduction part, you can draw such type of diagrams. These diagrams becomes very, very handy for two purposes. First, to fill up the pages, and the second important is it makes your answer look very different. But such diagram needs to be prepared in advance. Else it won't be beneficial, because you can't prepare your diagrams at that moment, because you have to think also, write also, then you have to prepare diagram also, then it becomes very, very impossible. So you need to prepare such diagrams always in advance. Next, why factor endowment is necessary? Now let's see. If we look at the industry pattern of Assam, industry pattern of Assam is very, very poor, because they are mostly, the nature of industries are MSMEs or natural resource based industry, isn't it? So due to the oil resources or crude oil found in India, Assam, we find many industries such as Numaligarh refinery. Again, Numaligarh refinery was established due to which accord? Due to Assam Accord. Okay, due to implementation, it was Numaligarh refinery was implemented as a result of implementation of Assam Accord. Now, second thing. Now let's come the second point. See, why don't we see very big industries in Assam? Because we can say that the nature of banks in Assam is very poor. I mean, the banks in Assam are very reluctant to give big loans. And if you don't have big investment, you can't open big industries, isn't it? Even if you look at the tea industries is also suffering from lack of capital. The lack of capital can be availed either from two sources. If someone has a good amount of savings, and the second is borrowing from bank. So the first option is not feasible, because nobody has that much of savings which is required for big industries. So definitely we are going to borrow from banks, but banks are very reluctant to give for two purposes. First of all, bank doesn't have that much required capital, and the second is the loan culture in Assam is very, very poor. As we have seen that in this one, microfinance waiver, isn't it? Why waiver was done? Because most people were not paying their loans, and due to repayment of loans, what was happening is that people NPA was going on increasing, and the second thing is that credit scores were also degrading, because when a credit score get degrades, so you won't get a loan from other sources, isn't it? Now third thing that most of the in Assam, if you see the nature of labor, it is unskilled in nature. I mean, if you go to Bangalore, Karnataka, or in Hyderabad, especially South India, you will see that the nature of labor force is very skilled with IT sector. So that's why most of the IT sector initially started in South India. As of now, that the skill development with relate to IT industry has spreaded all over the country, so we can see certain BPO and IT sector, isn't it? Also, why tea industry is so much successful in Assam? The first reason is tea industry doesn't require skilled labor; it requires unskilled laborers, isn't it? So, due to availability of so much labor, so tea industries is more dominant in Assam compared to IT sectors and BPOs. Okay. Now the fourth point, technological advancement. Now, what is the importance of technology? I mean, why do we use so much of technology? The first main motive of adopting technology is to increase efficiency. I mean, what 3% can do in 1 minute, a single computer can do in 1 minute, especially in the age of AI and other automation tools. Technology is very important. But if we look that in spite of having a good handloom related raw materials, our handloom sector is not rising as compared to North India. Because if you go to North India, Ludhiana and all, they are more well established in textile industries, but we don't see such type of textile industries in Assam. And even if we see, those are suffering from losses, those are suffering from capital related issues, isn't it? That one of the main reason is less adoption of technology. Even when we see that the handloom sector, power loom is hardly used, isn't it? So due to this, our profit reduces. Okay, so somewhere technological advancement also helps in determining the nature of the industries. Okay, now the next part. Why factor endowment is not a necessity and other factors are also needed. Now, as you have seen that what are the factor endorsement which is necessary for development of industries in Assam. Now notice I have addressed the with reference part to Assam by giving Assam related examples. So you need to address such type of questions in such manners. Okay. Now next, why factor endowment is not a necessity. Now product, as we know in economics, production will happen only where there is demand. No demand, no production, isn't it? Now production will demand will only increase when there is market access. Now the market access in Assam is very poor for two reasons. First of all, poor connectivity, and the second is poverty. Because to buy a product we need money, isn't it? And to export a product we need what? Connectivity. And both are very poor in Assam, isn't it? Because if there was connectivity with Southeast Asia, then Assam export would have risen, isn't it? But that is not happening because our connectivity with Southeast Asian countries are very low. Plus, due to poverty rates in Assam, uh, people are not able to afford. So ultimately there is no demand, and when there is no demand there will be no production, isn't it? Now the second is government policies. Now first of all, what is the main purpose of governance? The main purpose of governance is to create a sustainable environment for the development of industries. Initially, during the 1980s and 1990s, why businessmen are very less reluctant to come and develop an industry in Assam? The first is during 1990s and 1980s there was insurgency, and when there was insurgency, what happened is that they feared their life. So businessmen ultimately became less motivated to open industries. Plus taxation was high. So in a way, government policies were also important in creating industries. Now government policies has changed, insurgencies has gone down, isn't it? Now the third point is spirit of entrepreneurship. In Assam, if you see that most of the youth focuses on getting a government job. So because of its security, job security, so instead of that, they are not very keen to open a startup or invest in an industries, isn't it? So this shows that the spirit of entrepreneurship in Assam is very poor. Okay. Now the next important point is culture of innovation. In Assam, the spirit of research and development is also poor. Okay, so they mostly focus on either importing the technology from other state or from outside the country. Now what happened is that when you import technology from outside the state, the profitability will ultimately reduce, and once the profitability will reduce, what will happen is that ultimately business will shift from Assam to other places, isn't it? So these are the things which needed. Now it is also analytical question. So it is also static question. So you need to give a static conclusion. Either you can give way forward, or if you are running short of time, just write a general introduction conclusion, that the need of the hour is to treat other factors as endowment factor to bring reforms in those areas, so that the contribution of manufacturing sector in the GDSP of Assam, which is currently at 30%. So currently 30% of the GDSP of Assam comes from industry. But if such factors are taken into account and reformed, then this contribution might rise to 30% to 40%. I hope this is clear to you all, this question. The next question. I hope this question is very clear to you all. I mean, there is no issues, because these questions you need to prepare in advance. Just you have to mold the answer you have prepared in advance according to the demand of the question. Okay. Now, the next question would be, what role would you suggest for Panchayati Raj institution in earthquake preparedness? Okay, now whenever we see this topic, we'll think that okay, disaster management is a GS3 topic. How can they ask in GS1? But you need to understand that in GS1 we find the mention of earthquake. So accordingly, they can ask such disaster management question in GS1 also. So you need to be prepared in advance. Okay. Now let's understand how you approach the question. Now, if you look at the nature of the question, it is a suggestion based question. It is neither asking your opinion, neither asking critically analyze, neither asking this. So you need to show as much dimension as possible. So showing the dimension here, it becomes very important. Okay. Now, as we know, in disaster management, there are three parts. One is pre-disaster, one is during disaster, and another one is post-disaster. Okay, post-disaster. Now, we will divide this answer into three parts. That is, how can Panchayat play a role during pre-disaster, during disaster, and post-disaster. Okay. Now, see here the how to write an introduction. Here the keyword is Panchayati Raj. So you can simply write a Panchayati Raj related introduction. I have written in such a way that Panchayati Raj plays a very important role in the village development, and disasters such as earthquake are a serious menace to the development. So Panchayati Raj role becomes very important in earthquake preparedness. Okay, now as I said, I have divided the three part. First is pre-earthquake, next we have during earthquake, and last is post-earthquake. See, when you structure your answer in such a manner, it looks very good, and if you can execute such type of thought process in the exam hall, you are bound to get good marks. I mean, you will never fail mains. This becomes whenever you practice answer writing, you need to implement such thoughts that how am I going to approach such questions. So whenever you write answer from next time, you need to understand how should I divide the answer, what extra can I do. It's not about the content, it's sometimes about the arrangement of the content. Okay. Now, let's start with pre-earthquake. Now, let's say in pre-earthquake, what PRIs can do is community awareness. I mean, we have seen that the Panchayati Raj institutions such as Gaon Panchayat, Gram Sabha, Anchalik Panchayat tries to form a partnership with the school and tries to educate all the children of the school about earthquake related issues, isn't it? So this comes the first one, that is community awareness. So examples such as mock drills, workshop at local schools, etc. The second is development of contingency plan. Means when earthquake will come, how should evacuation will happen, what are the necessary steps we need to take. So here whose role will come in place? Gram Sabha. Now in exam, how do I remember Gram Sabha? Because whenever you will read Panchayati Raj, what are the keywords you will come to know? There will be Gaon Panchayat, Gaon Secretary, Gram Sabha, isn't it? So these are the keywords. You need to recall the keywords which you have studied under PRIs in these things. Now Gram Sabha can what? Identify the safe zones, evacuation route, emergency shelters, isn't it? I mean, they can even build rehabilitation center, rescue centers. Now, the next important point is infrastructure assessment and maintenance. I mean, whenever you read earthquake, we will see that one of the important things you will see in earthquake is vulnerability assessment. You will see that which are the main things which are very vulnerable. So what will happen is that you can also create asset under Manrega. As we know that in village area, most of the assets are created by village panchayat, and under which scheme? That is Manrega. So they can develop these infrastructures. Next is capacity building. Now when there is capacity building, they can train local volunteers uh, how to rescue, because you can set up local volunteers which will become very handy during evacuation process in earthquake. Then you can rescue technique. So these are the few things where you can train the local youths, including women, for helping during disaster. Here I have given the example training of women. Now that's during earthquake. During earthquake, what is important? Warning system. So they can, Gaon Panchayat or PRIs can contribute with various agencies to set up early warning system in village, isn't it? Now next is resource mobilization. Now during resource mobilization, what are the resources we require primarily during earthquake? The first resource is food, medicine, isn't it? So food and medicine becomes very important during earthquake. So during earthquake, resource mobilization also becomes important. Now post earthquake. Now post earthquake mostly put emphasis on rehabilitation. I mean, when earthquake comes, there is a certain damage done by the earthquake. Now when there is the damage done by the earthquake, restoring those damages becomes very important. So here also PRIs can play important part. See, what I did is that I took the keywords of all the disaster management, and I took the keywords of all the Panchayati Raj importance, and I clubbed it and made an answer. Now, in conclusion, you can say that as 70% of the population resides in village and rural areas with low preparedness of disaster management, so empowering the PRIs in this task will ensure the efficiency of disaster management. So you need to write a simple conclusion. That's it. You don't have to focus much about it. Okay. I hope you all are getting this point, what I'm trying to convey. Okay. I hope this answer is clear to all you all. Next, the next question will be discuss the role of Assam Pradeshik Mahila Samiti in women empowerment in the state. Also highlighting the contributions made by Chandraprabha Soikiani. Okay. Now, first of all, why this question has been asked? If you look at the GS-1 syllabus, then you will find role of women organization in India. And as Assam is a part of India only, so they can simply ask this question. Now, most of the people don't know who has established this Assam Pradeshik Mahila Samiti. It was established by Chandraprabha Soikiani, isn't it? Now, Chandraprabha Soikiani, as we know, let's give her background. She was a Assam freedom fighter, activist, a writer, and a social reformer. And she is considered as the pioneer of feminist movement in Assam. Now, what do you mean by a feminist movement? It's about people or movement which solely focuses on the right of women their share and equality of status, isn't it? So she was considered as the pioneer of feminist movement in Assam. Now, she was also the founder of Assam Pradeshik Mahila Samiti, which is nothing but a what? NGO, non-government organization, which solely focuses on the welfare of the women in Assam. Now, while working as a founder member of Assam Pradeshika Mahila Samiti, she advocated for many issues such as child marriages, polygamy, discrimination of women at the temple, women education, self-employment. So these are the issues she has taken up as a leader under the banner of Assam Pradeshik Mahila Samiti, which was established in 1926. I guess they have asked this question in this year prelims also. So you need to prepare such organization. Also, one of the important event under this Assam Pradeshika Mahila Samiti is the entry of Hayagriba Madhava temple, which is in Hajo in Monikut Hills. Now, previously, the entry of women was banned in this temple, but when Chandraprabha Shaikyani advocated and campaigned under this organization, ultimately, due to our efforts, now people can enter in this temple. Okay, now so this part I have highlighted the contribution made by Chandraprabha Shaikyani. Also here you can mention about various books written by her, isn't it? Also during freedom struggle she has taken many steps. She has participated in civil disobedience movement, non-cooperation movement. So you can also write all those things here, but since it's a 10 marker question, so you won't have much pages to write the such things. Okay, now let's start what Assam Pradeshik Mahila Samiti has done for the development of women in Assam. Now honestly, when I say that whatever content we have in our book or available to us, that much content is not enough to write a 2-page answer. But so here will you write, what will you do is that when you don't have any content for such questions, here you need to write a very general answer. And what general answer you will write? That whatever points we have prepared for role of women organization in India, similar points can be written under this question also, because ultimately every women organization in India has done the same thing. They have advocated for educational rights, for women rights such as access to health care, raised awareness about child marriages, dowry, gender discrimination. They have worked for the economic empowerment such as development of cottage industries, handicraft production, isn't it? Then they have advocated for the leadership development. We see that many protests are led by women, isn't it? Next, they also worked at the grassroots level. And why did they work at the grassroots level? To mostly change the mindset with respect to women, so that they can promote gender equality and encourage women's participation in decision making process. So this question was definitely tough, and this question I would put in the third category, that is the out of the box category. But what smartness you can show is here, that as you have already prepared 5 to 10 points for role of women organization in India, so you can write every point that you have studied under this topic in this answer. Just you need to put what? Assam Pradeshika Mahila Samiti. So this will give you an advantage over other, because most of the people will write nonsense in this question. Okay. So in this way you can write this question. And in such questions, if you don't write a good conclusion, that is also good enough. You need to just write a conclusion and leave it. I hope this question is also clear to you all. If anyone has any doubt, they can ask me without any hesitation. I will be very keen to address all your doubts. Okay, let's move to the next question. That is features of Indian Renaissance. Again, this is a very static question. It has been asked previously in UPSC also, APSC also. So this question can be prepared in advance. There is no need to put very much thought about it and write a very analytical question. This is a very straightforward question. If you are not able to answer such type of question, then somewhere your preparation is lagging. So you need to identify these areas, that what are the basics we need to cover, and from where 100% question will arise. Because I will tell you one thing, that if your basic is weak, then no matter how good you are in answer writing, you won't get good marks. Because basics, see, answer writing, if you're good in answer writing, that's a good skill. But if you're weak in basic, then you are already at disadvantage. Okay. Now, it is a, what is the nature of the question? Very direct question from static, and such type of question can be prepared in advance. Now, the approach is very simple. There is no thought process, too much thought process. You need to just put an introduction, just mention the features, and end with a conclusion. Okay. Now, first of all, see here the topic is what? There is a single topic named as Indian Renaissance. So you can directly mention the definition of Indian Renaissance in the introduction part. Now, first of all, you need to understand that what is Indian Renaissance. See, Indian Renaissance is nothing but a period of socio-cultural, political, and intellectual research. Sorry, intellectual resurgence that has begun in the 19th century. So when we say that in 19 after the arrival of British, they tried to impose British culture on Indian or Western culture on Indian society. So in a process, what happened is that the Indian society has somewhat degenerated, and when Indian society started to get degenerated, as a reactionary process, all the native Indians started to reinvent their politics, reinvent their intellectual, and reinvent their culture, and reinvent their aspects of society. So when this reinvention started, that period is solely known as the Indian Renaissance. Now, the first important aspect we have seen during Indian Renaissance is social reforms. As we know that during in 19th century there are a lot of social reform movement. You can mention the caste system got caste system got somewhere reformed. Then we have various evils such as child marriages, polygamy, then idol worship. These all things were at checked. So you can mention in here. You can mention about Raja Ram Mohan Rai, Brahmo Samaj. So anybody. Now the second aspect is cultural revival. As we have seen that many people such as Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay, Nandalal Ghosh, they started what? They started when they started this doing this art. In that process they try to showcase the glory of Indian culture. Even Dayanand Saraswati also said go back to Vedas. And why did he say go back to Vedas? Because it shows that Vedas were a very culturally superior era compared to the British thoughts. So here you can mention about Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay, Nandalal Ghosh, Dayanand Saraswati. Give examples about go back to Vedas slogan, isn't it? Next, spread of education, definitely, because India, the perception of British, the perception of Indians among the British were that Indians were illiterate. So to counter that, various things have been done, such as steps taken by Rajaram Mohan Roy, steps taken by Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar. Here you can mention those things. Then nationalistic sentiment. Uh, we all know that the first seeds of nationalism were mostly during the socio-religious movement, because what's the main justification given by British to the Indian? They have said that Indians are never Indians can never rule. They are meant to be ruled by superior forces. So somewhere their culture was very degraded in nature. So when they started to showcase that our culture is superior, some sort of nationalistic tendencies also started to emerge among all. So when such type of nationalistic sentiment started to emerge, so soon what happened is that people started to take pride in their own culture, and this started mostly during the Indian Renaissance period. Now the next is promotion of rational thinking. One thought which has emerged during the Renaissance period is that they rejected the opinion or the reasons given by various scriptures. Okay, so what they did is that they started focusing on rational thinking, using reason, using humanity, using medical science. I mean, Raja Ram Mohan Rai said that the woman should be reformed based on rationalism. That child marriage should be prevented due to their health related issues. Because whenever child marriages happen, woman of the health of the woman is at stake. So such rational thinking was propagated mostly during Indian Renaissance. Then religious and spiritual revival, as we know, that it was Swami Vivekananda who gave a new thought process of Indian tradition. That Indian tradition should not be alone, it should be a mix of the Indian and the Western. So such spiritual revival and religious revival mostly occurred in the Indian Renaissance. Then we have the propagation of this one, Brahma Samaj, which rejected priesthood, idol worship. This becomes also important. The next is the advocacy of women rights. As we know that during this era, certain reforms related to women came, such as sati, widowhood. These all were banned, because if you observe that why sati was banned. In sati, women didn't have any right. If their husband died, then they should also die. It showed that women didn't have the choice to live. So it's somewhere women are not given the desired rights. So whenever such reformers started to advocate for human rights also. So this mostly happened during the Renaissance era. So you can give a conclusion that the Indian Renaissance was a multifaceted movement that encompassed social reforms, cultural revival, educational advancement. Basically, a summary of the above in writing 2 lines, isn't it? Okay. So these are the 5 questions I will take today. Tomorrow I'll show question number 5 to 10. What you can do is that I'll share the PDF in the Telegram group and WhatsApp group. You can again go through all the answer, and since it will be uploaded in YouTube, so you can again revisit the video. Okay. So tomorrow again we'll meet again at the same time. But up to that, if anyone has any question, they can ask me.